Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another Voice Essentials live hangout. It is so good to be able to drop onto YouTube and spend the next 20 or 30 minutes or so with each of you. And we've got people jumping in already on the live chat, as you can see just here. Good morning to Laura and our friend from Kosovo, Rexhay, and Jay Mers from Alabama. And we start today with obviously the very sad news coming out of the US at Las Vegas with the murder of so many innocent lives. And our hearts go out to all of our friends in the US who will have been impacted by this. And so, you know, just our hearts go out to people when these sorts of tragedies happen. And I ummed, you know, over whether I would jump in and do a live hangout today, but decided to go ahead and give us the opportunity to talk, as we always do, about developing our voices, and also acknowledging that sadly our world has these events happen on an all too frequent basis, and of course tragedy can beset any of us at any time. And if you are currently going through something that is challenging, then our hearts go out to you, and we are with you. And if you are directly impacted by the recent events in Las Vegas, then our thoughts are with you. Today we're going to be talking about a subject about trust. Here on YouTube, there are many singing teachers, case in point, and I want to talk to us today about how do we develop a sense of trust on who is right, who is giving you good quality information. And I'm not simply going to tell you that I'm the only person here on YouTube that is doing that. That would be a little bit disingenuous and a little bit weird. But I do want to talk through how I go about seeking out people who I feel I can trust on YouTube around certain subjects, and want to sort of hopefully help you develop that same ability when it comes to singing teachers. And so I thought that might be a good thing for us to do for today's discussion. Then, and of course, we're always going to be answering your questions, and I hope that you'll be able to stick around for the conversation that ensues. So, without any further ado, let's get into today's live hangout.
Sound check. Check 1, check 2.
So, as I said, it's good to see so many people jumping in and saying good morning. And Sarah G's jumped in. Hello, and ho mama. I'm so glad that you've learnt stuff from what we've been talking about thus far. And Linda's here, Kev Tran, and Emmanuel, if you've texted me on Instagram, I don't know that I will have. In fact, I'll tell you, I won't have responded. I do have an Instagram account, but it's not really an active one. Really, one of the best ways to interact with me is here on YouTube. If you leave a comment or a question under one of my videos, I am 99% assured to respond. I do respond via email, and occasionally I will respond to the messages on YouTube, but I always respond to comments. So be sure to leave any questions or questions that you do have under those videos. And it also allows me to direct you to perhaps where the answers might be in other videos, and I can direct you to videos on my channel. So, good to have you all. Be sure to let us know what the sort of weather's like in your neck of the woods, here in Brisbane, Australia, we finally have some rain. We haven't had rain since sort of April, May. Literally it's been just desert dry, and so it is so good to have some rain finally coming up, and coming down, and my lawn is very thankful for that, and I'm no longer mowing a dust bowl, which is a good thing. So be sure to let us know where you're from and what the weather's like. So we turn our attention to this idea of how do we learn to trust what we're being told on YouTube when it comes to singing. And I'm going to be very careful here today, because I don't want to find myself dissing or trying to discredit any one particular YouTube creator, any other singing teachers, but it can be challenging for us to determine who do we trust. You know, when I take my my car, I own a Jeep Grand Cherokee, and when I take my car to the servo, to the mechanic, I know how to change I know how to fill the oil up. On the old cars, I knew how to change oil. Now in the new cars, you know, I know how to put oil in. I know how to fill the washer reservoir. I know how to put air in the tires. You know, I know a few little things about how to keep my car in nice working condition. But when it comes to really getting into the mechanics of my car, I know nothing, virtually. And so when I take my car to a mechanic, I am placing a lot of trust in that individual, that at the end of the day, I drop it off in the morning, and when I pick it up in the afternoon, when I hand over my hard-earned dollar to that person, I am trusting that the work that they have written down on the sheet is actually the work that they have done. And this can be a challenging thing, because then on occasion I've found that actually, you know, 2 or 3 days after the job's been done, I've found, hang on a second, this doesn't feel like the work has been done. And we all know that there are dodgy mechanics out there, and you know, if you get hit by a dodgy mechanic, then you find yourself moving on to someone else. And it's kind of the same with our voice, isn't it? With our voice, when we go looking for a singing teacher, look, the reality is the vast majority of people don't know a lot about the mechanics of the voice. And when it comes to singing teaching, there are a lot of singing teachers that simply buy a plug and play program. And again, I'm going to try to stop short of naming these said plug and play programs. And what this enables anyone to do is to go, you know, they wake up one morning and they go, I need to change a career. I've done a bit of singing in the past. I think I'll be a singing teacher. And look, it's an unregulated industry, certainly here in Australia. To my knowledge, I don't think there's anywhere in the world, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, to my knowledge, there's no place in the world where singing teaching is regulated. So anyone can hang a shingle and call themselves a singing teacher. So when you buy these pre-packaged programs, all you've got to do is get yourself a little Wix website, say, you know, do some local advertising. Hey, I'm a singing teacher. And some of these people then start advertising via a YouTube channel. And so they start making YouTube clips and what have you. And there's not a lot of substance really behind the window frame, the window shop dressing. You know, when you really sort of drill down into the nitty-gritty of what the person is teaching, they may or may not really have a deep understanding as to the mechanics of the voice. The impact that then has on the people that start to engage with the material that they're sending out is that, you know, this person is actually playing with the anatomy of another human being's voice. And of course, when the mechanics of a voice are set up incorrectly, or certainly inefficiently, then the labour and the wear and tear that can then come as a result of those poor mechanical coordinations can lead to not only wear and tear, but can lead to a disordering, a disturbance, a damaging of that voice. And of course, a damaged voice can be a very costly thing to repair and a very emotionally stressful thing to see improved upon and rehabilitated is the word I was searching for. And so we have this difficulty of how do we then discern? And what I've said to many of my private students, and I think I've said it a few times here on YouTube, when looking for the right singing teacher for you, and this is where I want to say to you, that may not necessarily be me. When you're searching for the right singing teacher for you, you need to feel, firstly, that you can trust the person. Not only because they're a good human being, and because whilst that's an important ingredient, it's not necessarily the most important thing for the construction of good vocal technique. You need to trust that they understand and comprehend what they're teaching, and that it actually, to some degree, shows in their own voice. Does this mean that they themselves need to be a good singer? More often than not, yes. More often than not, good singing teachers will have had performance experience of some degree. But I have come across, on occasion, really excellent singing teachers who have had really amateur level performance experience themselves. I probably wouldn't want to find myself with a singing teacher who has no performance experience, because you can't lead someone in a direction that you've never been yourself. You can't take someone to a destination that you've never gone yourself. But nonetheless, you don't need to have toured the world. There's a lot of singing teachers here online who, will tell you, they've worked with this celebrity and that celebrity, and you don't have to have worked with a celebrity voice to know singing, and that's just a marketing ploy, if anything. And I've got many colleagues who work in regional Australia and out in the boonies. Now they're not having the opportunity to work with celebrity voices, but they do know the human voice better than many others, and offer great tuition. So be careful. It's a matter of discerning what is marketing hype and what is good pedagogy. And so, yes, you want them to have been have some performance experience. In today's age, you probably want them to have some form of formal pedagogy tuition, in the sense that they've got, now that can come in the form of a degree, whether it be a master's in pedagogy, or there's a whole range of pedagogical degrees that people can do now. Gone are the days where it says it's good enough to simply do a course, simply do, monkey see, monkey do, the old apprentice model. Mostly now we do encourage people towards educating themselves around the human voice. Just like our first illustration with mechanics. Back in the day, 40 years ago, I could work on my own car, and because the mechanics of a car were relatively, compared to today, were relatively simple. Now you have to do, a lot more training to work on the sophistication of the automobile, because it's got computers and there's a whole range of stuff in the modern car. The same with the human voice. 100 years ago, we trained teachers by virtue of the apprentice model, and it's not that the human voice has become more complicated, but it is that we've learnt so much more about the human voice. And so it is really important that in today's age, that your singing teacher really have an in-depth knowledge about the mechanics and how it's working. Now, that's not to say that they have to have an all-knowing knowledge about the human voice. I certainly don't. But they do need to know where to find that information. What are the right texts? Who are the right authors? Who are the right experts in the field that they can go to research their unknown spaces? And right now I'm upskilling my knowledge in the area of resonance, because there's a whole heap of exciting new research in that space. And so it's really important that that your singing teacher, the person that you've decided to invest your trust and hope in, that they're going to give you the information that is not simply built on monkey see, monkey do, and my singing teacher taught me this, so it must be right. Sometimes it will, and sometimes it won't be, and so that's a really important thing. You also want to be very mindful of some of the, as we were talking about before, the marketing ploys of some channels around advocating that, often we'll see channels putting up their students as an example of their work, and there's nothing wrong with that on the surface of it. Be very careful, however, when you see the same student of that person being presented and being put forward, because just because a teacher has the opportunity to work with what many of us would refer to as a naturally talented singer, doesn't necessarily mean it was their technique, their teaching skills that caused that student to develop. It can simply be that that person stepped into the studio already, wonderful singer, and they've built a relationship, and therefore they're now able to present that person. I do try in my studio, when I'm presenting at seminars and whatever, not to present my professional, amazing singers, because that's not helpful to the rest of us. It is important that we as teachers present the average voice, because the average voice, that's where you really see the teacher's skill being worked, is in a person that, loves their singing and wants to develop, but didn't come in a pre-packaged deal. So be very careful of those channels that present, again, these are all marketing ploys. These are all designed to capture your attention and take you down a particular road of trust. And I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say about it. Again, be very careful of the space of YouTube, and also think about the length of time and the breadth of topic that is covered on the channels. Again, there's no one teacher that has all the knowledge, and if there is a teacher on YouTube that's suggesting that they are the guru, that they are the one-stop shop, then that's probably my number one. Don't know how taken I would be with that concept, but certainly you want to know that the singing teacher you are trusting and engaging with has a breadth of knowledge across a variety of subjects. And so jump onto their channel, have a look at their video list, and have a look for the breadth of subject and topics covered. And I think that's another indicator. Why don't I turn it over to you? If you can jump in and write some comments in the in the live chat, I'd love to hear from you. What are the things that you go looking for in a singing teacher that enables you to trust that person? As you're doing that, one final thought, allow your voice to tell you. You know, if you're working with a singing teacher and after 3 or 4 sessions, whether it be online, via YouTube, or whether it be with a private tuition space, after 3 or 4 sessions, if your voice is going, something's not right here, then firstly open a dialogue. If you're able to, open a dialogue with that teacher and allow them to interact and to explore that with you. But if after a period of time, allow your voice to determine, no, this is not working for you. Even if that teacher is a well-respected teacher and can show historically a lot of success, it may not be that for your voice, this person's work is going to be helpful. So look, I hope those thoughts encourage you towards finding the right fit for you. And I do hope that here on Voice Essentials, that you find not only myself as a singing teacher helpful to your journey, but also a community of singers who are also developing a space where we can trust one another, that we each are encouraging each other to good voice and healthy singing. Let's jump over here. I can see some great comments going on. Oh, let me just get rid of that, and I'll bring this. Let me just go here. So Linda's jumped in. Hey, Linda, nice to see you. Yeah, Alex has asked, what do I think of complete vocal technique? Again, Alex, I'm going to stop short of passing any opinion or view over any particular technique, because that's not really what I'm trying to do here. It's not my job to review techniques per se. I have got 2 videos on the channel, one about speech level singing and the other one about bel canto technique, which I recently released. I hope that in those videos I've stopped short of naming and shaming anyone. That's not my desire. It's my desire to equip you, my subscribers, with the knowledge that really says, that equips you to make your own decisions about these things. And look, the complete vocal technique put together by a woman, Catherine Sutherland, and from a Scandinavian country, one of the Scandinavian countries, I think Norway. Anyway, correct me if I'm wrong, everyone. And she has developed a really solid technique that many people gravitate towards. I am not personally fully aware of everything that technique does or doesn't offer, but certainly she's got a very solid reputation amongst many. So I hope that gives you some thoughts to run with. Magical Power has managed to join us. Good to see you, Magical Power. Great with the time difference. Yes, well, I managed to start early today, and for those of you who have been wanting to know, Jodie is doing very well. For those of you who don't know, my wife was diagnosed with bowel cancer a number of weeks ago, but she has come through that. She's started chemo, but the chemo they've started her on, they're just going to ease her in. So she's actually doing really well, and as a result, she was able to do the kid run this morning. My kids go back to school today for their 4th term in the lead up to Christmas, and normally that would be my run. I would normally do the Tuesday morning run, but today Jodie said, she put her hand up and said, I feel good enough, I'm going to take the kids to school. So that meant I was able to jump in before I start my teaching load today at 9 a.m. and because it's only 20 past 8 here in the morning, and so it enabled me to do our online hangout with you guys, which is cool. Had a singing teacher that almost destroyed my voice. He always told me that if it hurts, I'd get used to it. Osgray, great point there. There is never a reason for your voice to be hurting in a manner that would see you, sustain that with the hope that it would get better. And Osgray, obviously you figured that out yourself. We certainly would not expect for your voice to be hurting. If it hurts, the rule is, if it hurts, stop, you're doing something wrong and something needs to be changed or altered. And so Osgray, obviously you figured that out. V reacts, hey all, with a big love heart. Love to see you. Lovely to see you. I think different vocal coaches can be right for different people. I think if a vocal coach relates to problems I have and successfully corrects them, that is a positive quality. Absolutely. And this is, I guess what I want to really stress there, Sean, is different singing teachers are of benefit to different singers. And, I'm not a one-size-fits-all when it comes to singers. No singing teacher is a one-size-fits-all. The better teachers, the more experienced teachers, will fit more than they don't. And that's, generally the case. But, there's been a lot of activity on YouTube recently generated by a particular creator who will remain nameless, attacking different people. Look, the reality is that even if these singing teachers that were under attack and he himself, there have been singers that have benefited from these people. Does that mean that I'm going to holus bolus want to go and, engage with them or whatever? Probably not. But at the end of the day, it's important that my dad always said, keep your own nose clean. And, there's not a lot of benefit in attacking and trying to discredit others. Firstly, it's very unbecoming and it doesn't do you any good. But also, it's a little arrogant, and we want to be careful of arrogance. Certainly here on Voice Essentials, we want to be careful of being a little bit too arrogant. Osgray went back to his own methods. I encourage you, Osgray, obviously you're here on the chat. We want to expose ourselves to the thoughts of others. There is counsel, wisdom in the counsel of many. So that's an important thing. Okay, so Laura, thank you, Laura. You did ask this question right back up here. And the question here was, does a strong core equal strong vocals? Really good question, Laura. Let me just come back over here. Does a strong core equal strong vocals? I am going to say yes, it does. And in fact, Pilates can be a really positive thing to do. So can yoga. These activities that develop good core muscle strength. But, and here's the but, and in fact I've got a video going live about working out at the gym. It'll go live in a few weeks, in about 3 weeks time, I think, from memory. And on that note, just to let you know, tomorrow's pre-record video is all about learning to sing low notes. I want you to have a watch of that. I think you'll all get something out of that. And for that matter, don't forget, if you are not a regular subscriber, make sure you subscribe and hit the white bell icon, because that's where you're going to get the notifications to let you know when I go live, and we do that at least once a week together with the pre-record videos going live on a Wednesday. So back to our question from Laura, does a strong core equal strong vocals? Yes. However, we do want to still be able to release the abdominal wall to allow the diaphragm. Let me just jump over here for a second. We still want to, and I'll just jump here, where if our core has got to the point where it's so locked up and so tense that it can't release, then we're in trouble. We don't want to see a singer with a six-pack. A six-pack, the abdominal wall, the abdominis rectus, if that is so toned that it can't release, then that means the diaphragm can't descend efficiently. And remember, for good breath, the diaphragm needs to be able to descend with good motion, displacing the internal organs. Because if you can't displace the internal organs, the diaphragm can't descend efficiently and effectively, which means you're going to breathe high, which is going to increase subglottal pressure sitting up underneath the larynx. And not only that, you're going to have less volume of air to draw upon. So do we want to, back over here, do we want to have a good core? We absolutely do. It assists many different things, but we still want it to be agile. We still want it to be responsive to being able to release. And so I hope, Laura, that is helpful. Jumping back over here. Let's come back over here. Sorry, everyone. Okay. Thank you, Linda. It is good. Yeah, Jodie's doing really well. V reacts. I learned some useful techniques by watching your videos. Oh, I'm glad to hear that. I came over from Tim Schmoyer's chat you did with him. I watched a few of your videos and found them great, especially the straw idea. Thank you, V reacts. Yes, recently I've had the great pleasure of working with a gentleman by the name of Tim Schmoyer. He's one of the world's leading experts on YouTube, how to run a YouTube channel, etc. And I've been working with Tim for the health of his voice. And look, he is just a great dude. He's, you know, having got to know him personally, he's a lovely man. And anyway, we ended up doing a live hangout together. You can jump across to his website to have a watch of that live hangout where we talked about vocal health, and we did that. That went live last week. A really good chat. And if you're into YouTube, he is the guy. He is the dude you have to listen to. He knows so much, and YouTube themselves actually interact with him about stuff. So there you go. What is interesting, all the teachers I've spotted always criticize the teachers I met before methods. What a specific group of people. Bartek, I'm going to take that as a comment. I have magical power. I dare say you've got a question. I have a question. How would you describe her voice and her technique? Oh, I think you're referring back to Catherine. I'm not sure, Magical. Samantha Griffin, how come most male vocal coaches on YouTube can't sing well? Well, I don't know that we can make that comment, Sam. I think that's far too generalized. I have seen many singing teachers here on YouTube who sing well, and so yeah, I don't know whether I'm ready to go with you on that thought. If that's your view, that's cool. You're allowed to have that. But certainly, you know, look, if you're looking for Sam, I'm not talking to you now. I'm talking to everyone. If you're looking for perfection, if you're looking for that singing teacher that has everything, you're looking for the Holy Grail. You know, it's sort of the gold at the end of the rainbow. It doesn't exist. It's not real. And so when you do connect yourself to a singing teacher, you do have to expect that they're going to have imperfections. And for those of you who have been following my channel for a while, you all know mine, and you know that my I try to be really, I don't know whether this is an Aussie thing or not, but I try to be very upfront in saying, hey, look, I don't know it all, and I'm not a guru, and but I do know how to access good information, and so just be careful. You know, if you find a singing teacher that is saying, hey, I'm the bee's knees, that would be a red flag for me. Oh, Janice Joplin, magical power is saying here. Janice Joplin. Well, Janice was a troubled soul, and you know, our souls impact our voice. She lived a pretty hard and fast life, you know, aesthetically, Janis Joplin was amazing. You know, the style and function, the style and aesthetic of her voice, unquestionable, but functionally, like many other aspects of her life, probably could have done with a tune-up. But, you know, that's only one man's opinion. Like they seem to know, Will tomorrow's video about singing low help with your speaking in low register? Yes and no. I think when we work our lower register and look to develop our sound, yes, it will impact on your spoken values. And so watch the video and see if you can, you know, workshop with some of the exercises and see how you go. Again, Samantha's asking about singing success. Again, it's not my place. Singing success is, despite what they will and won't tell you, it is based on the speech level singing. I've done a whole video on that. You can jump across to the channel and have a watch of that, Samantha. So I want to give one more question before we call it a day. For today, I hope you've all enjoyed the live hangout. It's cool that we can do this, isn't it? That we get to hang out like this once a week, and I hope you guys get something from it. Laura has asked, in a recent video of yours, we're going to give the last question to Laura. Oh, Music Lover 700's just jumped in. Nice to see you, mate. In a recent video of yours, you said that vocal fry is unhealthy, I believe, and it isn't used in vocal therapy after E.G. Knowles and recommended as a cool down. Vocal fry, it all depends on what you're defining as vocal fry. Many people define this as vocal fry. Now, for me, that's what I would refer to as as pulse. That's pulse register. It's where the vocal folds are coming together. They're not quite taut enough to create clean tone. And so we refer to it as pulse register, but many will call that vocal fry. Using that as a part of a warm-up briefly can be beneficial because it can cause the vocal the vocal folds to just get some blood flow going. And get a nice thing going. I use it occasionally myself, briefly, and I think that's what most people are referring to when they talk about using in a warm-up. I actually use the term, let me just bring this back over here, everyone, and get over here. I use the term vocal fry more specifically to refer to that glottal stroking at the very beginning of phrases. So an excellent example of this is and it's more about onset. So Christina Aguilera, or I think in the onset video I did, I used the baby, 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 yeah, that Britney Spears song from, dear me, nearly 2 decades ago. How old are we all getting? And it's now using that as a stylistic choice, fabulous, because it's emotive, it adds color and contrast and texture to our sound. But when your vocal fry, your onsets, the glottal stroking is habitual, that will wear and tear, scientifically shown to wear and tear at your voice. It is a high cost effect. Now, if you, you know, sometimes we do spend more money when we're going out and we purchase things that, you know, that may be expensive, and that's okay. But it eats into our budget, and for the next week you may not be able to afford other things. And it's the same thing with your vocal budget. When you purchase expensive vocal choices like vocal fry, it is going to eat into your budget. But there are times when you do want to, if you're doing Baby Baby by Britney Spears, baby, baby, yeah, you kind of got to get that. Not a great example of me. I've got the blonde hair, but not quite. Anyway, you do have to be prepared that that is going to have a cost on your voice. So it's not a matter of, with contemporary singing, it's very rarely a matter of right or wrong, do it or don't do it. It's more a case of making choices, wise choices, knowledgeable choices around what that choice is going to cost you in the long run. So, you know, it's more, in many respects, it's more postmodernistic, isn't it? It's living, we're able to live in the grey. It's not right or wrong. It's just making better choices and more knowledgeable choices. So I hope that's helpful. I think that's a good thing for us to finish up today's chat on. And as always, I hope that you've enjoyed today's Hangout, and I hope you have a great week wherever you are in the world. If this is the first time you ever joined us here on Voice Essentials, I hope you've enjoyed the Hangout. We do this once a week. You can, of course, be notified of our Hangouts every week by subscribing, and don't forget to hit the bell icon. And for those of you who have subscribed, hit that bell icon, the white bell icon next to the subscription button, because it will tell you when I'm going live so that you always receive the notification. And so I can answer your questions, because a big part of our live Hangouts is our Q&A. And you know, on the occasion that I don't have an answer in one Q&A, then hopefully I'll get time to then go away, do some research, and come back, and we can talk about those things that I'm not able to provide immediate answers to, because just like we started off today's conversation at the beginning, I don't know it all, but certainly I've got a base knowledge that hopefully I'm able to share with you, and we can do that every week. But for now, I am going to get rid of this. For now, I'm going to sign off, and as I do every video, I'm Dr. Dan. Sing well.